Have you ever found yourself almost being overwhelmed by your own new ideas? Have you ever found yourself highly motivated to write that book or to make that workflow or to make that logo, to build that business, but then as soon as you sit down to start on the big project, your phone rings. You answer the phone and then you lose track. Have you ever found yourself being an intender and somebody who's always busy, but yet profoundly unprofitable? Well, today's guest is going to teach you 4 disciplines of execution. He's a consultant of choice for Lockheed Martin, Proctor and Gamble, the Marriott hotel chain, and now you, ladies and gentlemen, Chris McChesney, on the 4 disciplines of execution, which may just lead to profits.
It's a profit deal.
3, 2, 1, boom! You are now entering the dojo of Mojo and the Thrive Time Show.
Thrive Time Show on the microphone. What is this? Top of the iTunes charts in the category of business. Drilling down on business topics like we are a dentist. Providing you with mentorship like you are an apprentice. And we go so fast that you might get motion sickness. Grab a pen and pad to the lab. Let's get in this. It's time to bear some fruit like some Florida oranges. 3, 2, 1. Here come the business ninjas.
Sonic boom.
Oh, yes, and yes. Thrive Nation, we are in the air everywhere. And on today's show, we are interviewing the man, the myth, the legend, Chris McChesney. Welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you, sir?
Right on. Great, Clay. That was an amazing intro, by the way. You are off to a fast start.
Okay, well, the thing is, I always start off with
amazing.
I start off with my best stuff, and then it gets worse. Woo. So you're in for a laser show to the bottom. It's like a submarine show. Started off good, it gets worse. Here we go. You talk about the 4 disciplines of execution. When I recorded that rap song intro for this show, I had the idea, hey, I should record a rap song intro for the show. We all have ideas, but very few people actually execute on the ideas. So I want to help our listeners to become doers. Thomas Edison once said that vision without execution is hallucination. Talk to us about the 4 disciplines of execution. What are you talking about?
Oh, wow. Okay. Everybody has this itch. You just described it. We got lots of good ideas. There's a huge problem, though, and that in the moment, urgency tends to trump importance, which means the thing that's acting on you now, okay, maintaining the operation, getting through your day, in the moment always feels more important than the strategic priority or the big goal. Nobody gets a pass on this, and it's with every person every day. And it's a very human dynamic. And 20 years ago, we fell in love with the problem of, all right, what are the basic principles for executing amidst a whole bunch of distractions?
I feel like the listeners are going to want to know what these 4 disciplines of execution are, and then maybe where they could read more about them. Can you walk us through maybe just what the 4 disciplines are, and then that way people kind of know what's in your new book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution?
Yeah, so really simple. The first discipline, and this methodology has been around for 20 years. Like we've had case studies, and we worked with over 3,000 organizations. Number 1 is narrow the focus, which means you've got to decide in terms of all the things you'd like, everything that's on your wish list, something has to go to the top. You have to decide where you're going to put disproportionate energy. That's number 1. Number 2, once you've identified what that, we call it a wildly important goal is, right? Number 2, the second discipline is about leverage. The second discipline is called act on the lead measure, which means there's something you can measure that you have direct influence over, and if you move that, it's predictive of the outcome. The easiest way to understand that is weight loss, right? If I can measure how many calories I'm eating, if I can measure how many calories I'm burning, those are they're directly influenceable, and they're very predictive of goal achievement. But that same principle that we understand with weight loss applies absolutely everywhere. You just got to dig a little bit for where the lead measures are. So that's number 2. Number 3 is create a compelling scoreboard. This has got to be transparent. It's got to be visible. And we have to look in the ugly mirror. We have to be able to see, right, or the urgency takes over. We've got to be able to see, are we doing it or are we not doing it? And a lot of times we trick ourselves into thinking we're doing the lead measures. We're doing the things that are going to get us the outcome. And a really clear players, not coaches, players scoreboard is great for being able to see it And then the final discipline is create a cadence of accountability. So you've got an accountability partner. If you work on a team, that's the whole team. But it's someone that on a weekly basis, you've to say, I'm on track, I'm off track. And in a sense, what you're doing is you're taking a lot of activities that otherwise would not seem urgent in the moment.
Right.
And you're forcing them to feel urgent. You're not overcoming the urgency fixation. You're making the stuff that's strategic also feel urgent. So that's maybe the quickest overview of the 4 disciplines of execution you will ever hear.
Now, your book is called The Four Disciplines of Execution. What inspired you to write this book?
There's a great expression: it's better to fall in love with a problem than to fall in love with a solution. And 20 years ago, we fell in love with this problem. And the methodology, the approach, continued to morph and continued to change until it got to the point, I work for Stephen Covey's organization. We've been training groups on this for a long time. It got to the point where it just had to be a book. Like it 10 years into it, it was a book. We just hadn't written the book yet. So that was something that was just going to happen. And then I had to surround myself with writers that could help me get all of this great thinking that a bunch of people were doing into something cohesive.
I feel like you're a guy that has had a lot of success, but I think it could almost seem unapproachable for many people because you've had so much success. Where did you come from? I mean, where did you grow up? Where did you come from?
Upstate New York, son of a residential contractor. And there was no barrier between my dad's construction business and our family. And I was, child labor laws were a punchline to that, man. Me and my brothers and sisters grew up on a job site. And I was told
labor.
I was overhead from the time I was 12. And I didn't know what it meant, but I was pretty sure from the context it wasn't good. So yeah, that was the incubator.
This is one thing I want to bring up for the listeners out there. Work ethic. You come across as a guy who has a serious work ethic. What did you pick up from your family about work ethic?
It's funny because my dad was scared to death that I didn't have one. And this has haunted me my whole life. He was famous. He loved me dearly. Like there was no lack of love, but his concern, he used to tell me, he said, Chris, you're only 2 bad decisions away from the gutter. Right now, you don't understand how hard this world is. Like he couldn't see that. He had that work ethic. He had the most incredible work ethic I've ever seen. Mine came on later in life, but he was very, very concerned that I didn't have it. And I've given a great deal of thought to when this kicks in and how it kicks in. But I'll tell you this, for professionals, if you only do the work that you like to do, that you think you're good at, it's kind of a formula for disaster. There will be work you don't like, and you've got to do the work you like, and you inevitably will have to do the work that you don't like. I've never seen anyone been able to get around that little idea, but that's a big question about work ethic and motivation. I got a lot of thoughts on that one.
Today I had to fire somebody, and I hate to fire. I'm not a big yes, let's fire people in terms of it's not like it's not an adrenaline rush for me. I'm not gonna wake up going, oh yeah. And a lot of business owners won't do it because, to your point, they don't want to, so they don't do it. But for me, I had a member of our team for one of the businesses that openly explained to a customer that they didn't want to be at work. They just don't want to be there. So the customer, says, how are you doing? And they say, I don't want to be here. I'm ready to get out of here. You're my last customer on my shift, something like that. And I talked to the customer, and they said, yeah, this person does it all the time. I don't want to be the one who gets them fired. But so then I did some research, and the other employees are saying, this person does it all the time. They're constantly complaining. They're kind of Debbie Downer sort of thing. So by firing the person, I was able to make room for a new hire, and all of a sudden, problem solved. But if I avoided doing what I don't want to do, I wouldn't have any success. What do you see people avoiding doing the most? I know that's a broad question, but for entrepreneurs out there that are avoiding stuff, are they avoiding planning their day? Are they avoiding accounting? What are they avoiding the most?
Conflict's a big one, the one that you just mentioned. And more than avoiding firing people, they'll avoid addressing the issue at all. So that's big, but I don't think it's number one. I think number one is it's married to the word ambiguity. And it's where I can't see clear steps. And they tend to run from projects that are not spelled out specifically, where they've got to go in and just sort of create an event on their own. And this is, I have 7 children. And this is the thing that I think I deliberately contrive events and chores and tasks and problems to force them to deal in ambiguous situations where they have to create in the moment and they can't just be told what to do. You ask me, that's the first thing that comes to my mind is the ability to create action amidst ambiguity and uncertainty. People struggle with that.
How do you derive an income? Do companies pay you for consulting, for speaking? How do you get paid?
So I have, for 30 years, worked for Stephen Covey, the guy that wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I worked for his organization called Franklin Covey, and I've got book royalties. I share the intellectual property with Franklin Covey, and then people hire me to do conferences. I have a team of consultants that work for me. I run a little business consulting practice inside of Franklin Covey. So I derive some income from Franklin Covey, and then I derive the rest of the income from speaking gigs and keynotes and conferences and that kind of thing.
Have you spoken to bigger companies before, big brand names that people would know?
Marriott's our biggest customer, 12 years.
Marriott?
They're ninjas at this process. Yep.
Really? What are some other companies that you've worked with that our listeners might know?
Lockheed Martin, Proctor and Gamble. We 3,000 companies. I'm looking around the room just for brand names. It's almost easier to do it that way.
I need more. Lockheed Martin. Hospitals. Give me just a couple
Lockheed
more.
Martin. Who else? Let's go. A lot of small companies, a lot of private run.
Yeah.
Manufacturing, oil and gas. CNRL up in Canada is a big one.
Okay.
Lots of divisions of bigger companies.
You've passed my name, my name drop test. It's like you could be consulting with great companies, but if you don't have a few name drops, my listeners get kind of skeptical. So you've passed the name drop test. Now, here's another big idea. You said that urgency kills priority, and I was thinking here, Chris, and maybe you disagree with this idea. I was thinking, if I'm going to be on the show with you today, I probably should get off my smartphone, because you probably sound dumb if you're trying to multitask. You know what I mean? I probably sound dumb if I'm trying to be on my smartphone while I'm talking to you. So I thought to myself, I need to focus. And so I do. So right now, at this very moment, as profound as this may sound, my kids might be calling. I have 5 kids. You have 7. My kids might be calling.
Yeah, right on.
I might have a complaint coming in right now from a customer. I might have a lead coming in, a hot lead. I might have a great opportunity. I might have, 2 weeks ago, we had the White House invite us to come out there and to be briefed by the President of the United States on the lawn. That was cool. That could be happening right now. But the idea of doing everything simultaneously is wrecking people's productivity. Please share, for the listeners out there who are struggling to turn the phone off and to be mentally and physically present when at work, please help the list. Please help our listeners. Help us.
Hey, they already know. Let me tell you, they already know this one. Anybody that's achieved anything, tried to do everything, they already know. Matter of fact, they're squirming right now while we're talking to them.
Oh.
Here's the 2 things. Let me tell you the 2 things they know. The first thing they already know is, and they've all said it, like if you opened up a poll right now, they've all said, we've got to narrow our focus, or this one's big, right? We got to prioritize. They're already dying. They're already dying on this hill right now. That's the first thing. The second thing they know is there's 20 things that need their immediate attention. So it's not that they don't know to focus. They don't know how to focus. They don't have a thought process for breaking the conundrum, right? This dichotomy of no kidding, Chris. I know I got to focus, but I also have 20 things. I can show them to you. I can list them off. I got 20 things that are acting on me right now.
Preach.
How do I do both those things?
Preach. Help us deal with email. I see people going to church, checking email.
This may sound overly simplistic, but let me just give you like rule number one. You've got to sort of create two buckets in your brain. There's a big bucket and a smaller bucket. And the big bucket is life support. And you've got to accept the fact that the bigger bucket of energy is going to go support. Nobody wants to buy this, but you have to face fact. 70 to 80% is just sustaining. It's fighting entropy.
Glory.
It's just maintaining the operation, maintaining your day job. And you got to give up 70 to 80% of it. If you have people working for you, you have to accept the fact that 70 to 80% of their energy is already spent maintaining the business before they heard a word that you said. And then the second bucket is a smaller bucket. This is discretionary energy that can be stolen from life support. And a lot of people don't think there is any, but there is. And it's this energy that you apply to the disciplines of focus, leverage, engagement, and accountability. You start focus by not trying to win on everything. You have to understand that there's a bigger part of your life where you're just keeping the ball spinning, and you got to be emotionally okay with that you're not making giant progress on every front, but you've picked a war. You like Chick-fil-A, these guys?
Yeah, oh yeah, I love Chick-fil-A. I think Chick-fil-A is a great place to take your kids to grab a quick meal.
All right, Tim Tisopoulos is now the president of Chick-fil-A. We were working with him 20 years ago, and he kept saying this thing that stuck in our head. He kept saying, the first thing I want to know from a leader is where that leader is placing disproportionate effort. Now, he's asking for the small bucket. In other words, he knows you've got a big bucket where you're spreading yourself out across a whole bunch of stuff. He wants to know, what's your small bucket? Do you even have a small bucket where you've carved out 20 to 30% and it's your big bet? And he wanted to know where are you putting disproportionate energy? And the whole execution process begins when you know what that one thing is.
You know what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask you 3 final questions in 90 seconds, and then I'm going to tee it up here. We have a thriver here today in the studio from New York. He's an attorney. His name is James, and he's going to ask you a question, too, about maybe prioritizing.
You brought a New York lawyer.
I did. And I know that for you.
That's like kryptonite to me. Oh, my God.
I wanted to see what would happen if we brought a New York lawyer into the studio here. So, okay, here we go. These are my 3 final questions for you. What is your favorite old school music jam? The favorite song, you go back in the day, that was the jam. What song is that?
Easy. Stones. Rolling Stones. Can't Get No Satisfaction.
Really? Rolling Stones Can't Get No...
the movie Apocalypse Now. They're playing that while this guy is water skiing behind a military PT boat in the middle of Vietnam. I'm a big water skier. That's it.
Oh, there we go. Let me get some cowbell on the track. I need some more cowbell. Here we go. Oh, get some cowbell. Here we go. Yes.
You're going to want that cowbell.
Want that cowbell. Here we go. Double time.
You're going to want that cowbell.
Listen, guys, if Bruce Dickinson wants more cowbell, we should probably get some more cowbell on the track.
Really let it breathe, man.
Oh, let it talk. Here we go. Cowbell. Here we go. And I try. I can't get no. Hey. Unbelievable. Wow. Whoa. Shaka Baba. That was beautiful. Okay. Everybody needs to go get that song, download it on iTunes right now, watch it on YouTube. Rolling Stones. Beautiful. Just majestic.
I'm so glad I didn't draw a blank on that one. That just came pouring into my brain when you asked that.
Oh, man. Okay. I went over the time limit, but I'm going to keep going here. Here we go. How do you organize the first 4 hours of your day? Like, what time do you get up? How do you organize the first 4 hours of your day?
It's changed a bunch, but I'm on one right now that's working for me.
Yeah.
And I lock, it's not always 4 hours. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 5. But my mornings are locked for creative work.
Locked? What time are you waking up?
All the life support stuff to the afternoon.
What time are you waking up?
And I don't even try to do the creative stuff past noon.
What time do you wake up?
All the writing, earlier every year, but I'm going by 6:37 every morning.
4 hours, just
and I work out of my house.
Nonstop creative stuff. Just start in the morning every day.
Blocked, yeah. Because what I learned was I kept trying to do the creative stuff later and later in the day, and I
can't do it.
I have a period of time where my brain will do the hard stuff, and then it doesn't do the hard stuff.
I've never met an entrepreneur ever who is super successful who does not do that same kind of flow you're talking about. I've seen people try to do it. I've interviewed thousands of people. I've seen people tell me they tried to do it. I've got guys like my partner, Dr. Zellner, now who can do his creative thinking at night because he's wired that way. He can afford to do it. I've just never had somebody on this show who said, oh, yeah, I react all day, and then at night after I'm exhausted, that's when I plan. I've just never seen it.
No, I don't have it.
Now, James is an attorney. James, what's your website for the listeners out there that do not know? What is your website, sir?
Hi, Chris. TheLawyerJames.com. TheLawyerJames.com.
Okay, so you're an attorney,
That's great.
and you are also a creative guy. I mean, you do a lot of different projects. You've represented big-time brands, James. What questions would you have for Chris about execution, maybe how to get more stuff done, prioritizing, time management, anything you want to ask at all, my friend?
Sure. Well, Chris, I want to say, I grew up in Eastern Long Island. I was born and raised in Southampton, and I'm a son of a residential contractor as well. I have two younger brothers. Yeah, I mean, when you said that, I was like, whoa,
you know
hang on.
exactly what I'm talking about then.
Yeah, exactly. The blurred line or the non-existent line between, the job and the family. Yeah, I mean, we were on job sites in diapers. So
that's hilarious. My sister compared mixing mud to making oatmeal. That's how she taught me how to mix mud.
Well, that's interesting that you say that too, because my parents during the summertime would have a camper, and we'd live in a camper on the beach in the 70s and 80s until we got kicked off by the authorities, and then we'd go into the backwoods and hide out for a few days and make mud pies. So it's there's another pretty crazy
hilarious.
Parallel. Yeah. So, and I told my dad that I wanted to work for pay, and he said, well, you can work for pay, but you got to put your time in each week. After you work for 7 hours for the family, that's when I'll start paying you. So I don't know if you had any experience like that.
We were straight up indentured servants. He said, if I'm working, you're all working. He said, because I'm not gonna pay for all your tuitions while you guys play and I work. It was just understood. And then sometimes there was money, sometimes there wasn't money. But the rule was, if he was working, everybody was working.
Same here. There are a lot of parallels here, and it's very, very interesting experience growing up like that. So my question for you is, in the beginning of the show, you started talking about urgency, and immediately when you said that, what came to mind was the Eisenhower box. The urgency and importance and urgency and importance.
We worked for that for 30 years. That was that's a huge model for us. The 4-box model of urgency versus importance. Yep.
So my question to you, and I think you've already answered it, was, do you teach it? And it sounds like you do. You've been working with it for 30 years.
Yeah, the founder of our company, Covey, really popularized Eisenhower's box.
Love it.
Matter of fact, we even there's 2 books written specifically on that. So yeah, you are right at ground zero. And the box of effectiveness, ironically, is the box that is not urgent but is important. And that's the 4 boxes. That's the one that gets neglected, and yet that's where all your opportunities are.
Yeah, and that's where we should be spending most of our time, right? The important but not urgent.
As much as we can, yeah. It won't. One of the things I was trying to stress earlier is that you cannot escape a majority of your time in life support, operationally, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's how deliberate you are with the time you can steal away from things that are acting on you, time you can steal away from the urgent. Really is where you get your breakthroughs. And here's the thing, your brain doesn't like that box.
Yeah.
Have you ever been working on a project and it's the most important project all year, and you're fighting with yourself to do the most important thing you're going to do because there's a fire burning down the hall, or you got to get back to somebody. Like, your brain doesn't even like it. But if you can create discipline around it, again, that's where the payday is.
Now, here's this is something that I shouldn't do, but I did it, Chris. In preparation for the show, I rounded up audio from a comedian by the name of Sebastian, who's describing how you were raised. And I'm going to play it for you right now, and just enjoy this little audio gift. I'm going to mute your microphone. I'm muting your microphone. I'm going to play this audio, and just listen as the comedian Sebastian explains how you were raised by your father.
They instilled work ethic into me at a young age. Young. If you come from immigrants, they don't play around with the work. Okay? I've been working since I've been 8 years old. These people put me to work. I don't know what was going on. I was watching cartoons on a Saturday. My father walked in the living room. He's like, hey, go start a business. Now? Right? They never bought us anything. I come from middle-class upbringing. They never bought us a damn thing. They told us who had what we wanted in the neighborhood. I'm like, Dad, can we get a dog? Dog, yeah. 2 houses down, they got a dog. You want to pet an animal? You walk 2 houses down. You pet their dog, and then you come back here and cut my lawn. What? What lawn? Why? What does the lawn have to do with a puppy? What are you talking about? There was no napping growing up. Once you were up, you were up. Okay? Not like today where the kids are, I'm gonna go take a nap.
Okay, so what do you think? Was that pretty accurate?
Yeah, even the accents, he's got that, of course it's super Italian, but he's got that Northeastern New York thing, just so down. Now, grown men, my dad would get on a job site and grown men couldn't hammer a nail. And it was a riot, just intense dude. But yeah, I miss him now. I lost him 2 years ago, and we all went crazy.
He's probably up in heaven wearing out God.
Yeah, right.
God's probably like, slow down, man, slow down. I'm trying to pace myself. I'll be here forever. So
right,
I'm sure he's happy.
He would yell in the morning. We would hear this booming voice. It's 7 o'clock. You've wasted the morning. That's in the summer. That's what we woke up to. Was the sound of him yelling, "It's 7 o'clock. You've wasted the morning."
Unbelievable.
So, yeah, those are great memories.
Wait, thank you for being on the show and for sharing your story. And I encourage all the listeners to go check out your new book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution. Get that book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution. And before I let you go, is there anything else you want to share with our listeners?
Big idea. Futility. We talked about urgency.
Yeah.
Futility.
Yep.
Feelings of futility is a really big problem. Make sure what you're focused on feels like a high stakes but winnable game, even if you have to redefine what winning looks like. It's a really big part of the formula when it comes to motivation. Beware of urgency and beware of futility. They're soul suckers.
Chris, I appreciate you more than I could possibly express for being here on the Thrive Time Show, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening.
Hilarious show. You are a riot, man. Anytime. Hey, we do stuff in Tulsa. I'm going to call you before we come back to Tulsa. We work with the Tulsa Tech Center, and we do stuff in Tulsa. So I'm gonna hit you before we come back to Oklahoma.
Absolutely,
get over the crazy.
Absolutely, make sure you do it. We've got a beautiful conference center where we host events every 2 months. We'd love to have you there. Love to give you a tour. And again, hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. And we'll be seeing you soon.
All right, thank you so much.
Take care. All right. And now, without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom!
Boom. Boom.